All right, so we'll start this. Hey guys, Mike NFT here, Mike Master, live at LaLa Contemporary Art Center here with Mark and Maria over here. Thank you so much, firstly, for accepting our invitation to come and meet you guys. Really excited. Mark, thank you also on Twitter there for reaching out.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I was looking so forward. I'll start with you, Mark. So because you're the featured artist here. You're displaying right now your artwork, which is Fractal Art, that is also minted on NFT. Which platform did you mint?
Foundation.app.
So is that the only platform right now that you're minted on?
Yeah, I focused on one platform as a way to make it, one portal access to all the pieces for this show specifically. I may evolve into other platforms. I'm hoping to get into more platforms as people sort of see the work and see my dedication to the space. But it takes time for these smaller groups of people to go through the work and to find value. And there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people trying. So it's but yeah, that's Foundation for now, and then we'll see.
Naturally, there's more and more artists embarking into the NFT scene and to blockchain technologies to create and to share their creativity. What brought you into the space? How long have you been around, and what was your first glimpse of what was an NFT?
Yeah, so for me, I guess just as a digital artist on my own, going to college for art, digital work has always been part of me. My life as a computer tech guy, computer techie, just growing up with the computers and the internet. Back in the day, I would make fractal pieces, but it was based around a program called Bryce, which was more of a terrain generator. And so those are some of my really early days, just playing around with this stuff. So I've always had a digital side to me. And recently, my friend Tim Repel, who lives out west in Vancouver, there, he invited me, and he's in the visual effects industry. So he gave me the invite to Foundation. He saw my work on Instagram and just said this would be a perfect fit. He really liked the work, and he himself had been in for a couple months, so he introduced me to the Twitter space and sort of helped me get some traction there. And then ever since then, I've just been sort of nonstop trying to interact and broaden my community.
Now, you only dipped your toes right now into the NFT, but did you find any limitation creativity-wise? Did you meet any obstacles during your first creations on your own?
The images were not such a big problem. They are giant images, so they end up being about 15 megabytes. They're 10K images. 50 megabytes still isn't that big of a file, but when you're dealing with the blockchain, there is a limit there. So I haven't hit that on the image side yet, thankfully. But when I made my animation recently for NFT purposes specifically, I realized that 50 megabytes was my limit, and so I wanted to make sure that I could still do the idea I had without being limited to the time it was going to be able to run. So it's 1 minute 45 seconds, which is I think a lot longer than a lot of people's out there right now. I mean, most people are doing 15, 30-second sort of loops. Because I feel like people are generally feeling limited. They're feeling like they have to work within this box. So this was a way for me to sort of show, hey, you can do longer pieces if you want to compress them a little bit, but keep the quality. And then obviously you can offer the higher res files, which I think most people do anyway. So I know people out there who are releasing video files as NFTs, but then they'll send out a high res 4K image or even something that you wouldn't be able to download necessarily, so it comes on a USB or something like that. So for me, creatively speaking, I think it's been okay. Foundation is a one-of-one platform, so that's somewhat of a limitation, but I'm willing to work within that for the purposes of this series, this animation.
So your friend tells you, all right, get into the NFT scene, you investigate, get on Foundation, you mint your first NFT, put it up there, and boom, out of the blue, you wake up your first sell. Tell us about that. What was the feeling?
Yeah.
What were they know?
It's a bit of a nerve-wracking experience, I think, for most people. The first one, you're not sure, maybe you're not aware of ETH, you don't know what it might mean to value your work. So for me, definitely it was a nerve-wracking experience. Number one, I put up Totem 1, this blue one here, and it was, within a day I went from I think a value of 1.3 to 0.2, just as like feeling like maybe I'm overdoing it or not knowing how to value myself, and I just felt like I need to make this more accessible. I need to give people an in here where I'm not charging too much, basically based around ETH, and so within a day I brought it down to 0.2, and then I think maybe it was a couple days later, I'm not sure exactly, but an artist bought it, and they just really liked the piece, and so that was really, really cool feeling working to finally get a sale and feel like this is legitimate. And then that allowed me to put up my second piece, which is actually around the corner here. It's number 12, but that piece sat on there for quite some time. And so there was a moment of unsure, is this going to work out? I think it was like a month and a half that sat there. And so I didn't really have the extra cash to start throwing more pieces up and buying more ETH. And there was this moment in the middle of the night where I woke up feeling like I got to engage with the Twitter space, and saw another artist who was putting up basically a little competition between, post your art and I'll pay for your mint fees. This is Mo Tunke. He's a international painter who's doing amazing with NFTs, and so to have, I posted my piece. I woke up the next morning and he picked my piece, and he sent me 100 US in Ethereum to mint, because that's what it was costing at the time to mint and list. So I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I actually have another chance to show more of my work, which I think will also have a better chance of selling. And then, I put that up a day or so later, and then the next day that sold for 1 ETH, and then I was able to put up another piece, which then sold for 2 ETH. And so at that point, since then I've basically just been able to put the whole series on. And so it's been a bit of a snowball effect, but it's been, super helpful for, people out there who are just, artists supporting artists, trying to get people engaged. And, when I thought I was sort of done with it potentially, someone came and helped me and showed the value of my work to the world and helped me spread that. And so it's been really organic, as a result of other people's help and just, trying to engage with the space.
Now, being around us for a while, we know that's a common practice. We've done it ourselves, paying rent for artists. But here's the issue. We were talking on the back of prior to doing the interview, that then for you on a personal level, like you just stated, attaching that value to a fiat conversion is, like you just said, you threw out numbers. There are 2 ETH there, 1 ETH there, but if you convert it, we're talking maybe 5 to 6 grand in revenues. So for you, what is that new relationship with getting value at something that you cannot maybe rationalize or to relate to because it's not in fiat? How does that?
Yeah, I'm still every day trying to understand how other people are thinking about it, because I think it's all about relationships between the value of ETH and potentially Canadian or US dollars and fiat, but also the value of what people feel ETH is worth using it, on its own. Like if you know that you can spend ETH for something specific, then you don't really think about the value of the Canadian dollar on top of that. ETH is an ETH, and I can buy this piece for 1 ETH, and that's really all that it needs to be. If you're invested in that space and you have ETH on hand, I think people generally think in ETH, but if you're trying to buy into the space, then I think you have to, without a doubt, understand the value of it in fiat.
Yeah, of course. As you know, what we saw over the years is that there's a relationship also between the collector and the artist. I think you witness yourself. You have collectors out there that are willing to pay for mints when they're high cost to keep the creativity of the artist ongoing on the blockchain. But now today, knowing that you went to, you remember, so you were saying to me, you went to 0.2 ETH, only to come back to a 1 ETH.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So was that on purpose, or was that a battle within you?
Oh, definitely.
On that concept of value?
And it's something that you see in the community a lot, where there's they call it imposter syndrome, or just you second guess yourself. You don't know. I didn't know the space, and honestly, my friend couldn't give me any advice because he didn't know how to do it either. He was just sort of taking it day to day and hoping for the best. And also, being a new space, collectors may function differently, and they're functioning on the value of the underlying technology, as well as being interested in whatever they're purchasing with it. So I think there is that side of it to the collectors in the space, where it's not just about the art, it's about the technology and the future of art in general, and these currencies that run them.
But then we take a huge step. If we have to travel from Montreal and came here to Toronto, there's a reason why. Is that now I want you to explain to me, how do we make a leap in the office to say, well, okay, I got NFTs, but I want to display this in a gallery. How did that come about, and where does LaLa come into the story?
Right. Basically, I had a conversation with Claudia, the owner, and I showed her my work, And it was about, and I told her, you know, I'm engaged in NFTs, and I've made a couple, so I only made one sale at that point, so that she knew about the first sale. And then by the time she came back to see, you know, the rest of my work and brought me into the gallery to talk, I had already sold another two, and so I was kind of explaining to her this is sort of, you know, snowballing a bit. So there's value in the space, and she just thought, you know, the value of it being decentralized, the fact that, you know, anyone that can understand this could potentially use it wherever they are in the world for a global audience. I think she just saw the vision of that and was willing to take that on, as well as just the idea of using the traditional side as well and try to blend those together. So she's been really bold to step up and allow me to do this for sure.
I'll come back with you, Maria, but this is essential. When you pick up and Maria picks up that line, you say NFT. Does she has a concept, or she had never heard of it?
Yeah, I mean, Maria's been working with me on this since the beginning. She's seen the process of the work being put together all the way up to this happening. So, you know, it's you know, she's been there the whole time.
Yeah. So I was learning as you were learning, but obviously you were more immersed. I was just kind of observing everything as you were building it.
It becomes a lot to talk about, so it can become overwhelming, and she knows how much time and effort I've been putting into the community. So I try not to put too much of that weight onto her, and you know, it's my own endeavor, but definitely she's aware of the value of these things, and we're constantly discussing how these things will evolve and become more powerful and community-centric, and, you know, empower people, individuals to step up to a global, you know, audience and have potential, just like any art gallery does, I guess, you know. So
Cool. I'm going to just turn this over, guys, so just in case, because we do have a few, but I'm going to now put the accent on Maria over here. Now, Maria, listen, there's no doubt that NFT has launched, you know, and taken a lot of traction since a famous Christie's auction came around. Now, NFTs to this day are not well received by the majority of galleries because we know we're disrupting a traditional financial context, right? A distribution of the financial context. So when Mark contacted you, you know, when you guys, you know, talked about this, what were your sense of, like, what were you scared of? What could have been something that the gallery could have said, we're not there yet?
I don't know that we were scared at any point. I think it's just more we wanted to focus on, for those who maybe were not so familiar with the NFT concept, just making a point to kind of educate and teach them as they come in, and just sort of spread the awareness of what's going on. Because I've noticed a lot of people that come in are enthusiasts already, and that, you know, are very familiar with everything, and they come in with that intention. And we also, because it is a traditional gallery, there's those who are really curious because it's such a new thing. So I think it's more, there isn't really so much of fear, because people, I feel like there's an excitement and a, you know, curiosity and an interest, and it is something new. And if you're a progressive-minded individual in the art world, you know, you will open your mind and yourself to this kind of new sort of path, and it doesn't disqualify the old ways of doing things. I think it's nice to be able to, as we did here, we just incorporated both of them. So we do have the prints that are exclusive to the exhibition that we're still selling the same way as, you know, previous art, but we've just, you know, added this NFT concept. So still kind of honoring both systems. So yeah, I think there was really a fear. But of course, with everything new, it's like you don't know where it's gonna go, right?
Yeah.
So
Now, of course, we're just getting out of this COVID, you know, situation, so it is a very exceptional circumstances. But those that have come in now from their traditional collective, what are you getting as feedback? What is going on?
They love it. They're blown away. They love it. They're just like, wow. I mean, it's been, like I said, they're really curious. Some of them are like, oh, you know, I'm not in the crypto world, but they like the way we're kind of displaying it in different, like showing them, well, this is how it would look if you displayed it on this kind of monitor in your house, or you did it this way, or, you know, the scale of these. So it's, I think to them, just this like kind of fascination with something that's new, and you know, and if they do end up going and doing their own research, like there's a world out there, as you know. So yeah, it's been nothing but like positive, and just a lot of fascination and excitement. So I'm good.
because usually when we think of art, we think of tangible stuff,
Yeah.
right? And now we're talking a non-tangible world.
Sure.
So in a way, it is two completely different opposites.
Well, if we show them the benefits of
Yeah.
why this is important for the artist and for a collector, I mean, you show them the sides of like what this offers that maybe the traditional art world didn't, just like the whole ability to track your art when it sells and resells. Otherwise, if you had a painting, maybe you wouldn't know where it ended up 10 years later. So this is kind of giving perks that maybe weren't there before, and also for digital artists, photographers, people like musicians, it's just giving them a whole new kind of avenue which didn't exist before. So I think seeing the benefits and kind of the evolution of this is still kind of
Sometimes it just takes, one thing for them to understand how they are already involved with digital work. Everyone has a phone in their pockets. All cameras are using JPEGs, or video files. The standard is already there. We're already carrying these things around like they're valuable anyway. We just now have a way of attributing proper ownership and exchangeability. I mean, it's also applies to physical items too, right? So you can make an NFT of something like that. But trying to show at least the various ways you might display it. If you could push that in any direction, right? You could do it, low-res LEDs. You could do it 4K, 8K, whatever you want, or projections, or old TVs, or black and white. So many ways in which the digital media allows you to display traditional art in a new way, using light and screens rather than just reflected light, I guess.
Yeah, now we'll go after a round and we'll do a repeat and you can stay and I'll show them the audience which one you sold first and everything. So let's start first off. Let's start with this piece because you stated this was the first piece that you sold.
Right, and also one of the first I created in the series. They're all sort of subjectively open-ended. There's no names for a specific subjective, or like I'm not trying to create like any sort of meaning for every specific one. There isn't a big story in terms of well, this guy's from but each one has an open-endedness in that sense. So this is Totem 1 of 13. But it was one of the first that I created in software that I'm using. And it just stood out to me as something I'd never seen. It's very unique. Basically drew me in to do more. And so yeah, this is one of the first pieces that I settled on as a piece in the series. And so that's why I've made it big. These are all, again, giant images, giant JPEGs. So designed for print, but also the scale and those types of things apply to the NFT space as well. So if you had a nice big monitor, you could make a huge
Yeah, we'll see it right there after with the bigger version. But also, and this is a 50 meg.
So this is, I think it's about 15 megabytes around there. Yeah.
Okay.
But the image is 6 by 10K.
Wow. Okay.
These are rendered on a GPU. And it's all high precision math. It needs double point precision for the fractal math. So it needs a CPU only. So it's something that I think a lot of artists wouldn't be interested in trying to do necessarily as a result of the limitations of speed. A lot of people are like, well, I have my 3090s and I have my high-end software that allows me to render out everything I could ever dream of at my speeds and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sort of taking a step back and saying, well, I like the aesthetic so much that I'm willing to sort of wait and put the time and effort to get results that I see.
But also, wait a minute. So this is really important in a way. So, but also, doesn't it add in a way a type of sparsity that you won't find elsewhere because you utilize the algorithm that is not accessible to the traditional market.
Right, and so there is a level of half computer-oriented generation and exploring that space, and then there's a sculpting, painting, lighting, and styling element that is